Helldivers 2 has faced whirlwinds of controversy over the past few months, and primarily because of the community moderators in their Discord server. They have made several really questionable moves that have pushed consumers away. And then, of course, we have Sony pulling the BS with them, requiring PlayStation Network accounts to be linked in order to play on PC. But now we are hearing about this alleged, take it with a grain of salt, moderator handbook that talks about the things they should and shouldn't allow in the server because the mods think their players are bigots and should be banned on site for saying things like you don't want identity politics in games. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I know so many people love Helldivers 2, and I know a lot of the hype has really died down. The player numbers have gone down quite a bit, which isn't very shocking. Games come out, they have big rushes, and then, of course, player numbers dwindle until they put out DLC or just new content in general. But it does not seem like the people running something like the Helldivers 2 Discord have really listened to backlash they have faced over the past few months, because now we are seeing a alleged leak that does not look good for them. This is by Mark Kern, aka Grums. It says, leak and rumor. Helldivers 2 Discord is not the politics neutral space you think it is. The mods think you are a bigot and should be banned on site for saying you don't want identity politics in games. Now, of course, take this with a grain of salt. We have seen a consistent pattern over the months from them banning people and timing people out and trying to silence certain conversations, yes, but this alleged handbook, it's not confirmed. It says, though, this unconfirmed Helldivers 2 Community Manager Handbook seems overall well written, sensible, but there are two interesting things about it. And yes, there is quite a lot to this, and I would generally agree that most of it is pretty standard. You know, be nice to people, don't start arguments. Of course, you know, for moderators, stay informed, provide support, communicate effectively, be available, keep users on topics, and reduce tension. Like, very standard things that most people would want from their community managers. But there are a couple of, yes, very worrying sections. The first is the example given. Any talk about, quote, not wanting identity politics in games is an insta ban. No warning necessary. They consider it hate speech and a violation of their first rule. Helldivers mods feel the phrase identity politics is code for any minority, and by saying you don't want identity politics, you are saying you are a racist bigot and actually don't want people of color in games. This is a massive false assumption that fundamentally misunderstands the issue. Now, yes, there are some people out there who take terms like identity politics and do mean basically anybody that is not them, but that is not the majority of people, and that most certainly is not people like me and like you. We, when are talking about identity politics, we want things like good storytelling to be the focus of a video game, and we want actually fleshed out, unique, well-written characters to be leading our entertainment. And yes, sometimes those happen to be people of color. Sometimes those happen to be, in a story, predominantly women. These are things that are perfectly fine. The issue is we see consulting companies like Sweet Baby Inc., for example, forcing diversity and inclusion into products and ultimately altering what the developers originally intended to create. And when it comes to a community like this, they should be moderating on a case-by-case basis. The term identity politics should not warrant an insta-ban. In my opinion, it should not even warrant a warning unless that person is following up with other things that break the rules, and they're clearly trying to use it as code for something more. But just using the term identity politics is not instantly a code. That is a massive false assumption that, yes, does fundamentally misunderstand the issue and why so many of us question politics and politically driven decisions that are made at companies and developers. It says gamers are just tired of woke politics and preachy lectures and poorly implemented stories and characters for the sake of shoving the message down everyone's throats. It is true, not every piece of content needs to be some sort of moral lesson or lecture. Yes, a lot of entertainment has something to it, right? That, good versus bad, trying to find your humanity, trying to be a better person. If you're a villain, you're trying to go on some kind of adventure where you actually grow, and maybe by the end, you're not a villain. We're talking about courageousness, bravery, strength, honor, but when it comes to modern entertainment, all we are seeing are preachy lectures and, yes, poorly written stories and characters who are just shells of the people they could be. But it says the moderators of Helldivers 2 appear to have put most gamers into a bucket of hateful bigots and are free to act accordingly without even a warning. Now, of course, if we were talking about a small, close-knit community, I would say it's really up to them if they should just magically be banning people they disagree with. But we are talking about a server with tons of members behind an extremely popular game. Therefore, they should be issuing warnings before bans. But of course, this doesn't come as much of a shock given what happened just 2 weeks ago, as Helldivers 2 moderators were banning users for vomit reacting to LGBTQ plus furry art, then removes the emote as the player base continues to shrink. Now, of course, moderators are people as well, and they are allowed to have their own opinions. They might like this artwork, and they might think it's mean of people to react with a vomit emote, but at the same time, this is not just their server to do with what they please. They have hundreds of thousands of people that they need to, of course, keep an eye on, and people who are not going to always agree. But if you disagreed with this moderator, your account could have gotten banned, and those people were not unbanned. Those people are still banned to this day. And of course, again, it didn't happen very long ago, but this was their statement. Hello, everyone. Gender identity is not politics. It's literally someone's identity. Here in the HD2 server, we have a zero tolerance policy on any sort of bigotry or hate. The topic of gender identity, especially this month, is not one that's not allowed. What isn't allowed is all the negativity towards people trying to celebrate who they are. People, again, are allowed to react to a piece of artwork if they want. It's not like people were messaging moderators saying, hey, you need to ban this piece of artwork because it is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. We're talking about people putting something as simple as an emote onto the artwork. That's it, clear as day. Nobody should have gotten banned for that, but they did. And of course, keep in mind, Helldivers 2 has not had the, smoothest of rides when it's come to gaming, because Sony had actually created a whirlwind surrounding this game months ago because of the PlayStation Network account linking being required to play Helldivers 2. And of course, yes, they did end up backing down on this, but I've actually talked about other situations like God of War Ragnarok, for example, where that requirement still is in place, and Sony didn't change that, and Sony hasn't looked into that yet, at least at this point in time when I'm recording this video. But Sony and PlayStation listened to the, negative feedback regarding the company's decision to require PlayStation Network accounts to play Helldivers 2 via Steam, and will no longer be implementing the policy going forward, which was great and a massive win for Helldivers 2 fans. But then, now, of course, you have moderators making, a lot of negative situations surrounding this game, specifically with the Discord server. And while, again, we do not know if this moderator handbook is legitimate or not, I would lean towards it being legitimate. It's got the arrowhead logo everywhere. It seems, for the most part, pretty standard. So I'm personally leaning towards it being real. We haven't gotten any statement on it, and we most likely will not, but it definitely does not look good. And if you are part of this Discord server, just be careful if you want to stay in it, because of one wrong thing and you're going to get permabanned. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.